Okay, everybody, buckle up. Are you buckled up, Shawn?
I'm buckled up in my Sactionals.
Here we go.
Seatbelt on.
Learn to love dog poop.
Hey guys, Shawn D. Nelson here. Episode 31 of the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast. Our guest today just hits it out of the park. This is one of those episodes that's just going to get you stoked to be alive. So great to be around people that bring this kind of energy. I wish I was more like Barry Shore, our guest today, in the sense that he just vibrates on one of those super high levels. It's going to make you feel great. He is a master of the acronym linguistics. Bring a pen and paper. Pull a pen and paper out right now because you're going to want to write some of this stuff down. Amazing tips and tricks on how to enjoy the hard things in life because it's going to happen. How self-talk is just at the root of our success and how we can manage that. And service, looking outward to others is the real key to joy and happiness. I think this episode is going to bring it for you. I know it brought it for me. It brings it every time I get to interact with Barry. He's just one of these unique humans on the earth that you're going to be proud to know when we're done with this podcast, which you're going to want to share with a friend. Help us get the word out there because the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast intentionally has no advertisers. We just want to share the joy of living and some hacks to do it better. I think you're going to love this one. Check it out. Our guest, Barry Shore, best-selling author, The Joy of Living. He holds patents. He's founded businesses. He's a coach. He's a developer. Most importantly, probably the most positive person I've ever met in my entire life. Welcome, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful bunch of beloved immortal beings and good-looking people. Now, Shawn, how can I make the categorical statement that the tens of thousands of people that have tuned in and listening to this podcast are all good-looking? Because by definition, if they tuned in to listen to you and me, it means they're always looking for and finding the good in life. That's the definition of a good-looking person, looking for and finding the good in life. Because that's how we live successfully.
I love it. So you've all just experienced just like the tiniest taste of Barry's own podcast, The Joy of Living. It's worth checking out and for sure. And really excited to break this down with Barry today. But what a story. Why don't you quickly, Barry, tell us, you were a paraplegic. You've now swam to like the moon. You've swam to like the moon and back.
Okay, let's not exaggerate. It's only been to Venus, but okay, yes. Okay, just because it's fun and we give people a little dose of something to start them off. Imagine if you can, for you're standing up in the morning completely healthy, and in the evening you're in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed. That was me 20 years ago. I'm standing up in the morning, Shawn, completely healthy, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Yeah. In the evening, I was in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from the neck down. It's called being a quadriplegic. Oh. Nothing in the body moved. And it was not from an automobile accident. It wasn't a spinal injury. It was a rare disease, which I never heard of the day before. Takes over my body, renders me completely paralyzed. I can only communicate by blinking my eyes.
Wow.
What a change of life. In the morning, yeah. And in the evening, now what do you do? What do you do with the rest of your life? And I think that's what we're going to embrace today in our time together. What do you do when the good Lord says, Barry Shore, I need your attention. I'm going to lay you down for a little bit and have you think about what's going on in life. What do you do with hard stuff? What happens in that moment or those moments, those years of being paralyzed?
Wow.
Now, WOW, by the way, is a great acronym. WOW is a wonderful acronym that stands for Words of Wonder, Words of Wisdom. And I believe that that's what Shawn and I are going to be sharing today, because when I speak with people, and I'm blessed and honored and humbled to tell you I've been invited to speak to people around the world through the podcast and in person and such, and we talk about the three fundamentals of life. And these three fundamentals are so important because They enable you to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And the first fundamental is, as you know, Shawn, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose driven life, number two happens. Now, this is a good number two. You go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. You lead a purpose driven life, you make a difference in the world, like Shawn does, and Barry also. And the third is where it becomes really fun, is to uncover the power and the secrets of words and terms and find the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant essence of them. Most simple example right now, Shawn and Barry are being heard or seen around the world. If you ask anybody, what is this medium? It's over the internet, right? You ask somebody, what does www stand for? Well, invariably, they'll say it has to do with the internet. And they're right, factually. In our world, meaning the world of Shawn and Barry, it stands for what a wonderful world.
So
And
Barry,
what
I want to get into these acronyms with you because I've been on your podcast and I've heard you, break down 50 acronyms in 45 minutes. It's been, fun to watch and insightful and really made me think about it a little bit. So we'll come back to that. But before we do, how long were you paralyzed before you were able to and then bring us to the swimming thing because I want everyone to understand you a little bit.
Okay, Shawn wants to talk about swimming because one of the things you're going to discover when you read his book, Let Me Save You 25 Years, and everybody should get it, read it. Don't just get it, read it, is that he swims. It's another thing I like about him. He
Yeah.
swims. I love him because he's a family man. He loves his wife. He loves his kids. He loves his business because his business touches people. And this is
Mhm.
really an essential aspect of what we're talking about because most everybody, I believe, that's listening is an entrepreneur. And even if you're a salary person, you're really an entrepreneur because it's your own business called life.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
this ability. So the simple answer to your question is, I was completely, totally paralyzed. I was in the hospital for 144 days.
Mm.
I was in a hospital bed in my own home. I couldn't move for 2 years. I was
Wow.
in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, from my hips to my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. Can't walk up a curb by myself. I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you
Wow.
hear my voice, though. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant because of one word. And the word is smile. So this goes right to your question because SMILE is an acronym that stands for Seeing Miracles in Life Every Day. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, right now, if you're listening to this, you say, wow, Barry, you sound like you're really there and you can do anything. Well, it's true, I can, except for things that you might think like stand still. I can't get up from this chair. If you're watching me now, I can't get up from this chair. I have to push and all kinds of stuff. That's okay. What's the difference? I can move my arms. And in the course of gaining back my upper body movement, almost all of it, they put me in the water. It's called aquatic therapy. So, because if you work with stuff on land, thank God we have gravity. Everybody knows about gravity, right? If you fall and you're like me, oh, does it hurt? And you can break things. So they put me in the water. We did aquatic therapy. And over the course of a few years, one day they had all kinds of stuff on me and moved me around. One day, Shawn, one day, I hadn't moved anything in years. I was able to move one arm over my shoulder
Wow.
and then another one. I did 2 or 3 of those. That was called a backstroke. And in the course of doing that, I hit my head against the side of the pool and it hurt. And I said,
Yeah,
yay,
I bet.
because I hadn't moved in years.
Yeah.
And I turned myself around, somehow managed to do it, and I pushed off and I did back and forth. That one day, that first day, after years of not moving at all, that one day I swam 98 minutes without stopping.
Really?
I told people, don't touch me, please don't touch me. People were watching, people came over, we had people, and at the end they applied 98 minutes without stopping. Essentially,
That just
like,
feels so good.
oh, I tell the story because it energized me so much. I swam, that was basically a mile.
Wow.
Now, just to put it in perspective, I was not a swimmer before this. You've been a swimmer for a long time. I was not a swimmer before. I could swim, but I didn't enjoy it. Okay, bicycle, running, but swimming, I didn't know how to breathe, didn't have the rhythm. So now, because they put on devices on my legs so they don't sink, I wear paddles because my hands don't close. I use a snorkel. I'll make a story very short. I now swim 2 miles a day,
That's
six
insane.
days a week.
I if you challenge me to go swim 2 miles right now in perfectly good health, it would be, I'd be done. I mean, that's amazing. And are you? I've seen the videos of you swimming. Are you kicking? Or are you not even kicking?
Oh, so that's an interesting thing. So do I move my? I can move my legs. I can't move my feet. I
Huh?
mean, some parts of my body still move, don't move, but it doesn't matter. I can move my legs from
Doesn't
my
matter.
hips. So yes,
Doesn't.
I'm doing a what we call a modified kick. Doesn't matter. I'm in
Wow.
the water. I'm moving. I'm breathing with my and Sean, you got to love this. When you go swimming again, I urge you to do it. I have a waterproof MP3 player,
Yeah, that's cool.
and I listen to stuff, uplifting stuff. Imagine here's a guy, and I do this for myself. I smile and I laugh when I'm in the water. And I say to myself, hey, Barry, remember when you couldn't move?
Yeah.
So I start laughing in the water. And now I'm swimming because that's called enjoying hard things.
Yeah. Wow.
Enjoying hard things.
I love that. Even just swimming a mile, walking a mile, whatever, jogging a mile, whatever, swimming a mile is incredibly difficult. And I know there's people listening that do triathlons and whatever. Swimming 2 miles, I mean, that will destroy most people. Most people probably couldn't even do it. And here you are, a recovering quadriplegic and enjoying it. There's it's one thing to do it. It's one thing to wake up in the morning and go, push yourself out of bed to go work out. That's, I think, commendable. But to learn to enjoy the hard things, what's the value of that, you think, Barry? I mean, besides the fact, look, you can appreciate it like no one else can. Having survived what you've survived, you have this point of view and this, perspective that most people can't fake because it's a hard thing to fake. So, what have you found beyond, of course, just the obvious? Like I'm sure, so grateful to be ambulatory, or as you say, or to be moving again and feeling that. Even beyond that, what is the value of being able to enjoy hard things?
Let me answer with two pieces. One is to understand the word joy. Notice I didn't say joy.
That's your word, Barry. You you
Joy.
you own that word at this point. I
Yeah,
own Love Stack. You own joy.
I'm here to share it. That's the genius of joy, by the way. So joy is a wonderful three-word acronym that stands for Journey of You. When you begin to embrace the joy of your life in your life, you're embracing your own journey.
Yeah.
There's nothing more uplifting, more energizing, more inspiring than your own journey because it can't be anybody else's. See, Shawn is a believer. I'm a believer. And I
Yeah.
urge everybody to confront themselves. And if you're a believer, we believe in the Creator. And the
Yeah.
Creator does everything for us for our benefit. So when you begin to internalize, utilize, and leverage that in your life, and you can embrace joy amongst the most difficult, challenging situations. And everybody, in my humble opinion, everybody will face difficult, challenging situations. Take a guy in business or a woman in business. If you if you're not hitting bumps and walls and roadblocks and almost ready to pull your hair out, well, then it's not real business, is it? I mean,
No.
it's called stuff. That's life. Now, I would like to answer you with something that I find to me most encouraging, and I share this with everybody. If you're able to do this, if you're driving, then pull over. And if you're sitting someplace, I urge you take out a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and write down the word challenge. It's a great word, right, Shawn?
I'm
Challenge.
going
I'm
to write it
actually,
down right now.
I'd like Shawn's going to write down the word challenge. CHALLENGE. Okay, Shawn, so we're going to test you. Everybody likes to be tested, right? I'd
Sure.
like you to underline the first three letters in the word challenge, and then underline the last three letters in the word challenge and tell me what word spells from those six letters.
Change.
Change. Now, change is an amazing word, especially in business. Everybody likes change. You go first. And let me know what it's like, right? Who wants to change? Oh, yeah, I want to do that and that, but oh, I have to change. So the word challenge is bracketed with the word change, but now it gets even better. Ready? What are the three letters in between? An L, an L,
LLE.
LLE, which stands for let love embrace change. When you can let love embrace change and you welcome it as part of your being, you've now entered into another realm of the being called you. And this being called you can not only face everything, but there's nothing that can stop you from fulfilling your dream, your goal, your desire, because otherwise you wouldn't have it. It's a law of the universe. It's not just, gee, that's interesting. It's a law of the universe. We
Hmm.
call it the law of attraction. I mean, of all people, Shawn knows this. The law of attraction works its wonders in Shawn's world, or else you wouldn't have Lovesack. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Look, it's amazing. In fact, though, a lot of you've probably heard this on the internet. The word of the year, according to Webster's, is manifest. Used as a verb, right? The law of attraction that Barry's speaking about, and it sounds silly and it sounds self-helpy. At the same time, we could get into vibrations, we could get into the metaphysics of it. There's a lot of different theories and whatever about how it ultimately works. But forgetting the mechanics of it, uh, it's it's incredible what you put out there, and that, in fact, it's if you believe some of the science, and now this part of it is some psychological, some legitimate psychological studies that have been done. uh, just not speaking negatively, not putting out there the worst kind of outcomes, giving voice to the things we fear, giving voice to our frustrations. But, it's one thing to speak positively like Barry does all the time. He's like Mr. Positivity. It's another thing to just stop the negative talk and how incredibly powerful that is in your life. Even more so, they say, if you believe this study, this line of thought, than speaking positively.
Mm-hmm.
So as powerful as that is to manifest and to think about our goals and then to speak them out loud and put them into the universe. How about you first stop with the negative talk? I cut myself off at the knees anytime I catch myself calling myself names. You're so this, you're so
Oh
that.
my gosh, you wouldn't know, Shawn. Okay, yeah, I know you did that when you were 12. We don't, adults don't do that.
Oh, please. I mean, maybe you, Barry, but I like any human, I really struggle with this, and I have to make a conscious effort. Another realm will take it in is my children. These are just, look, I'm just sharing bits that you're all probably way ahead of me on, but the things we say to them about them, like, oh, why are you so this? I have to really catch myself and be really disciplined to call, even if my daughter is being a mean girl, oh my gosh, the last thing I ever want to ever, and in fact, what we want to do is call her, listen,
Right.
I know you're a nice person. Nice people behave this way. Be very careful the things you put out there, even if you observe them to be true, even if I observe her being
Right. That's the
mean.
key. Okay, let's listen to what Shawn is sharing with us. First of all, share is a remarkably important acronym. It stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating energy. See, what we're discussing right now is all about energy. The energy that exists in the world is not neutral. It's either going to be positive or its opposite. And there'll always be pluses and minuses. The ability for you to understand that it's in your ability, in your power to channel that energy. So you and I, Shawn, know that the most important speech that anybody can hear is not from a radio, from a television, from a preacher, a teacher, the internet, even from Barry Shore. The most important speech that you'll ever hear is self-talk. Am I right?
Absolutely. In
So,
fact, just a quick tip, my favorite, one of my most foundational books, everyone knows, like who follows me knows that I'm big into books. Maxwell Maltz, um, Psycho-Cybernetics. He's really, I think, the godfather of this entire realm of
mhm.
self-help, which everyone else, built onto, from, NLP to neuro-linguistic programming to Tony Robbins to fast forward to today. All of it can, I think, trace its roots back to this fantastic book written very early, Psycho-Cybernetics, where he really made an effort to explore the power of this self-talk. And it's crazy how powerful our self-perceptions are in shaping our life, our outcome, our everything.
Okay, everything. Do you hear what he just said? Everything. So, in my book, and I'm humbled and honored to say I published 4 books in the past year and a half. And if people would like, you can get any one of my books for absolutely no cost. Just go to can I say my website?
Yeah, of course.
Go to barryshore.com, BARRYSHORE, barryshore.com, and get a book for free. It's an ebook. Now,
Amazing.
the important thing is not just to click and get it, it's to use it.
Yeah.
Read it. I don't care if you read a page a day and it takes you, 200 days. What's the difference? But use it. And the key is that it's not about more information, because there's so much information. I call it IO, information overload in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not about inspiration, because you can be listening and say, wow, listen to Barry, listen to Shawn, this is great. Everybody knows what happens with inspiration. 3 hours later, it's like Chinese food. You want some more. That's great. It's about the T word, transformation. You really want to do a transformation of your very being. It's just shifting your own perspective ever so slightly. Now, I got to tell you, I've been working, Shawn, with people for 4.5 decades. And I can tell you 97.2% of all the people I ever work with, they drop the F in shift and the other stuff happens. You got to keep your F's in place. So you're going to shift your perspective just a little bit. And guess what happens? Now we're going to talk about self-talk. So words are so powerful, you said. If you allow something to come out of your mouth that is sitting in your head, and in your head it's a bit negative, and it comes out of your mouth, you just created a reality.
Yeah.
So the genius of it is, well, gee, do I want to create a positive reality? Duh. So here's an interesting word about the word self. Self stands for, we have 2 levels of the self. We have the lower self and the higher self. This is psycho-cybernetics, by the way.
Yeah.
Everything you're talking about. The lower self, seeking excitement, losing focus. We want to do stuff. Go say, no. That's the lower self. The higher self is understanding that you are a soul experiencing life fully.
Hmm.
When you recognize that you're a soul, the only thing you can do in life is to be a cog, a channel of goodness, a child of God. So now you take self-talk on the higher level, a soul experiencing life fully. Talk stands for teaching always love and kindness. That's what self-talk is. Teaching always love and kindness.
Yeah. Of course, I agree with so much of what you're saying, Barry. And I just want to, I don't do this a lot on the podcast, but I'm going to share a couple of sort of metaphysical, call it religious thoughts that I have about that really are fundamental to me, and I think very important to the world. And you can agree or disagree, whoever's listening, but I'm going to, we are not bags of blood having seeking some kind of spiritual experience, right? We are spirits, we are souls inhabiting a body that's having a physical experience, and we are souls first, and to that end, I will also say to you that the reason I believe one of the fundamental foundations for why language is so powerful. We'll come back, Barry, in a minute to your acronyms, because you're so big on language. You're so big on what things mean, whether that those are eternal truths or not. I find it very interesting. But I will share with you what I believe to be an eternal truth. This world, this universe, and our souls, were created, but with word. Before we were conceived visually, before we were created physically. And anyone who subscribes at least to my, I'll call it my same belief system, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, knows exactly what I'm talking about. But I believe this to be true for all of the human experience. Therefore, this pattern is true for our lives that we're experiencing today. The things that we create audibly, the things that they're coming out of our mouth, is the first step in creation, and then often created visually, even as those words conjure up images in your mind. Some of the things Barry said about swimming, you're having a visual experience as we're talking right now. Even if you're not watching this podcast, our storytelling is creating a visual experience in your mind. And by the way, those things can then be manifested in the physical world. And it goes in that order. And this is why when we say to our kids, "Oh, you little brat," if we ever say that, guess what kid you are creating in those words. And this is why. And so now forget your kids, do it to yourself. When you call yourself a loser, or you call yourself, "Oh, I'm always late." And I know that may be true in the moment. You may be running late, but it has to be, I'm a person who gets there on time. And the more we are willing to have the discipline with our words, both audible and even inaudible in our mind, and therefore the visuals that it creates, and therefore the physical manifestation that follows, just like this world was created. I'm telling you, that is the pattern. And it is scary, powerful. And look, you can call it manifestation, you can call it religion, you can call it whatever you want. I'm just telling you, that is the pattern. And it is true. And it is terrifying how powerful our words are.
Cannot do anything but agree and emphasize and amplify, if I may be so bold. So I think everybody knows what a chiropractor is, right? You're feeling a little bit out of sorts physically,
Sure.
going to the chiropractor, and he and she goes, ah! And now what happens is they align your body in such a way that you're in flow and you're relaxed. So what I urge people to do is what wonderful Shawn just talked to us about, is becoming your own spiritual chiropractor. So you want to align your thoughts and your words and your deeds so that they become aligned. You want to think in good, you want to speak good, you want to act good, and guess what's going to happen? Good emanates. You become the conduit, the channel of goodness, the child of God. And that manifestation enables everything that you think about, speak about, and act upon to be what other people call real. It's as real in your thoughts as it is in the tangible physical world. I mean, we all know that Shawn is sitting at a desk right now, and the reality is he could put his hand right through the desk because all those atoms in there, that physical desk is nothing other than atoms moving around. We could.
Which are mostly space between the atoms.
That's it. It's space. So what do you do with space? So we're together right now, Shawn and Barry. What we're doing right now is that we're playing the music of the spheres. This is what this is. We're riffing. This is a jazz ensemble right now, just two pieces at the moment. got a bass, and we got maybe a little percussion and other things happening. And the beauty of this is that we want to talk about flow. Oh, can I tell you a funny story about flow?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm laughing as I say it. So everybody knows if you ask them, okay, wonderful Shawn, uh, how do you pronounce the three-letter word LOW?
Low.
Low. How do you pronounce? Put an F in front of it. Now, how do you pronounce it?
Flow.
Flow. Now, if you look in your garden, you go home and you see your kids and say, "Hey, everybody, come out and look at the garden. What do you have in your gardens?" You put an ER at the end. What are those?
They're not flowers.
Well, we call them flowers. Well, why should they be flowers? They're
Right.
not flowers. They're really flowers. Because if you look at let's say a dandelion, or I happen to like sunflower is one of my favorites. So you get this beautiful stalk with this great face, and it's looking up and petals all around. Everything in there is in movement, right? It's not static. It's flowing with life. Those things are really flowers.
I love
It's
it.
all there. Now, if you cut it, you just cut off the flow. Now it could be a flower, but those things are flowers. And when you start looking at people that way, especially yourself, you're a flower. When you
So
take a
Barry,
shower, you're not showering, you're showering.
I love that. You're flowering and you're showering.
Right?
As a student of language, so I became fluent in Mandarin Chinese as I got older. I first served a mission for my church in Taiwan for 2 years. Lived there, spoke it around the clock on the streets with people day in, day out. I lived in China after that as a professional, and I can read and speak and think in Chinese. When I come home from my trips to Asia, it takes me a while to stop thinking in Chinese. I'll get hung up on words because they come to me anyway. Once you learn a language prolifically, once you learn a foreign language prolifically, it gives you a different insight onto language. And so, one of the things I'm going to challenge you on are all these acronyms. These fun things that Barry says that are inspiring and fun around words in the English language. When in reality, as you learn other languages, you realize, right, that words are concepts. They're arbitrary. The fact they're represented in these letters that you choose to turn into acronyms are arbitrary. And I'm challenging you on this on purpose because on the one hand, it's easy to look at that and think, oh, it's pretty silly and it's fun and share and challenge and flow and grow and, show and what things mean. And, these things that Barry throws out there. On the other hand, as we just established, language is incredibly powerful. And so, how do you reconcile that? And then I'll tell you what I think about
Okay. I like challenge. Remember, let love embrace change.
it. There
So
you go.
I
See,
am
there it is again. There it is again. I love it.
I am humbled and honored to tell you that I know at least two languages fairly well. One is English, and the other is Hebrew. And not just the spoken language of Hebrew that is in Israel today, the essential biblical Hebrew.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, Shawn, there are many words in Hebrew that are acronyms. Matter of fact, I'm working on one this week.
I bet.
Yes, and I'm sending out to. I have a few hundred people on that like to hear when I say things over from the weekly portion in the Bible and such. And so, in the Hebrew language, these are not just random letters put together to create an idea. And so I'll send back to you the challenge. At least I've been taught, and it may not be true, but you'll tell me that in Chinese, especially, where a lot of things are in pictograms,
Yeah.
that the pictogram for I think change or something is a human and a storm or something like that. It's about opportunity. When things are in flux is when things happen. So that when you look at that, you don't just say the word change or something. It's a human in, for want of a better term, crisis. In
Yeah.
other words, you're putting together ideas because words and language that communicate are really essentially the ability for us to communicate ideas one to the other and to build with those ideas things that are positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. And let's go to what you talked about with your children. And I know for my son, I have only one son. I have two grandsons, thank God. Uh, the ability to communicate to them and with them in the way that we're talking now, positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, and to make sure that it's really that's what they feel from us, not just that those are the words that come out, and they feel it from us. That is what creates for them their ability to face life, to be able to enjoy life, and to know dad loves me. Dad's love for me makes a difference. Mom loves me. My brothers and sisters love me. Wow, that puts a different aura about the human experience because everybody you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Yeah. In fact, by the way, if I just saw you on this podcast, going on singing your songs, using your acronyms about joy and whatever, I would have no idea that you were quadriplegic. I'd have no idea that you struggle with a curb. You're just a guy sitting in a chair speaking in a microphone.
Right. That's what I am.
And I love this. I encountered this at a homeless shelter I volunteered at. They had this big sign over the kitchen area, with the people that were serving you, because they were also volunteers, as people went through and, took their food, and it said, the person you are looking at is fighting the toughest battle of their life right now. And if we could hang that sign over everyone's head, one, it would be true 100% of the time. Two, it might give us just a bit more empathy in how we interact with each other. By the way, including over your child's head. They're struggling with things that you don't know anything about. They're not telling you, even if they're really transparent with you, like I think my kids kind of are. I have a pretty cool relationship with my kids, I think, but I promise you, they're struggling with things that they're not telling me about. And I am struggling with things that I'm certainly not telling them about. And so that sign hanging over the head of every human you encounter is 100% accurate and can change our ability to interface with people if we let it.
So I want to mention to you two things that again, this is a jazz riff. You mentioned saying I am. Even if you're running late, I am a person who's on time. It's like you're not fooling yourself. What you're doing is you're bringing yourself into the space where you want to be. And I want everybody to understand what I'm about to say. Shawn used the words I am. He didn't say, I want to be or I'm going to be. I am. When you articulate that, these simple words, I am capable, I am positive, I am a giver. Well, guess what happens? That physiological being called the body is now stimulated to merge with that psychological, spiritual being called the soul. And if anybody could look at it and do the aura photography, the Curlian photography around it, they see, wow, look at that being. It's just, all those electrons and movement and such, and it's glorious. And then at the same time, like you said, to have that sign over, everybody's fighting a battle you know nothing about. We have a series of cards. 2 decades ago, I am privileged to say I began a movement called the Keep Smiling movement. And it's just literally, it's a card that reads Keep Smiling on it. I may even have one handy that I could show up if people want to see. And you'll be getting one of these in the mail, Shawn. Actually,
I got them. I have them sitting right here.
Oh, you got them. Okay.
Well,
here you have the Keep Smiling card. So the Keep Smiling card, I'm happy to tell everybody, we have distributed more than 6 million of these
Oh
around the
my,
world.
just out
Uh,
of your own pocket too, by the way.
sorry?
Just, I mean, with the money out of your own pocket, funding
Yeah,
these
oh,
efforts.
yes, all for free. We now
Yeah.
have in 27 languages, including Chinese, and people love it because they make a difference. When somebody gets one of these cards, it makes a difference. Well, okay, even if they don't, I'm talking about giving out to Russians. It's a you're dealing with different cultures. You give a Keep Smiling card to a Russian, generally speaking, I'm having them telling me, well, this is not our culture. And then something changes, even the tiniest bit. So we have one card that reads on the front, and I think I sent it to you in the package. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And on the back of the card, it reads, be kind always. Ah! Imagine giving out these cards to people. Because when you give, guess what happens? You are now creating a relationship with another human being. There is nothing, at least in my experience of 75 years on the planet, nothing more interesting, more uplifting, more penetrating than a relationship with another human being. It's so delicious.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Everything else is dust. I mean, that's what I'm like a broken record, but that's what it reads on the, inside of my ring that I wear every day. My wedding ring now, it represents my family, reminding me that everything else is dust. And the relationships with people, particularly, of course, my family in my case, and then emanating outward from there, are really the only things that matter. Everything else is dust. Um, so, so Barry, you were thrust. We've dwelled a little bit on, this massive kind of cataclysmic event in your life that now shaped a lot of who you are today and how you experience life. Were you always this good at enjoying hard things? Was it thrust upon you by God or the universe or happenstance? Um, how do you think about? Look, I think it would be easy to look at a person like you and say, "Well, I hope I don't have to go through something like that in order to suck the marrow from the bones of life, like Barry has learned to do." Obviously, with your general demeanor. But talk to me about that. Is that what it took for you? Were you like that before? Like, how do you think about and what advice do you have for people to who want to become, more positive, more successful, live at a higher vibration, however you want to term it, on their own without having to necessarily go through what you went through?
We have two big pieces here. One is
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what happened pre paralysis, and the other is do I have some advice? So I want to talk about the advice, but in order to do that, or in order to do that, I need to tell people the answer. The short answer to your question, wonderful Shawn, is yes, I was like this before.
Okay.
However, I was not like this before. In other
Mm.
words, let's just, if we have to pick a number, like the Richter scale, things happen in the, uh, I don't know if you know, I come from Boston, Massachusetts. I moved to California when I was 27. I lived there, thank God, for 45 years. And we just moved
Yeah, I was
recently.
gonna say California suits you a lot better than Boston.
Yes, well, that's why I moved. It's one of the reasons. And now we moved to Henderson, Nevada, which is actually even more interesting and upbeat and more free than
Yeah.
California. They're going through those issues. Uh, so my point is that prior to being paralyzed, I was a very upbeat, positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant person. I had been through other stuff. So if you ever, when you go to my website and order the book, go to barryshore.com and you can read the backstory. I've been through stuff. And I had a major, what people call near death experience. I call it near life.
Hmm.
Because when you're near death, like with the ring, that's the only time you get close to life. You got to be on the edge. Now, you don't
Yeah.
have to get as close to the edge as I did. Everybody goes in their own situation. I wasn't like this, though. Now I'm in mission mode,
Mhm.
legacy mode. because
Yeah.
I am now chronologically 75. And here's the first piece of advice. I didn't mean to give this now, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now,
Yeah.
the first piece of advice is the following. Shawn, everybody on the planet, once you get past the age of 20, lives with 4 ages at the same time. You have your chronological age, your metabolic age, your mental acuity, and your SOW. So my chronological age, I'm 75. Older probably than 98% of everybody listening, maybe 99%, who knows. My metabolic age is 47 because I swim 2 miles a day, 6 days a week. Great tan, upbeat, just I can do stuff. Now, obviously, I'm limited in things I can do. I can barely walk. I can't stand still. Who cares? I have the energy, metabolic age. My mental acuity is 28 because I work with a lot of 28-year-olds. I'm building a platform now, which we'll talk about hopefully after I finish the piece of advice, whose mission, you ready for this, Shawn? Whose mission is to give $1 billion to charity without costing any giver a penny. Well, how do you do
Wow.
that, Barry? Well, it's a whole discussion. But suffice to say, I've built myself, not myself, because nobody builds anything by himself. Shawn didn't build Lovesack. Yes, he did with a team. And team, of course, stands for together, everyone achieves miracles, not more, miracles. So we're building a platform that is frictionless, seamless to give $1 billion to charity without costing any giver a penny. Wow. Another story. And my SOW is 8. So we're hoping Shawn is saying, okay, Barry, what's an SOW?
What's an SOW, Barry?
Okay. Sense of wonder. I'm an 8-year-old.
Yeah, I love that.
And you want to keep it between 6 and 9. See, below 6, kids are still doing all kinds of stuff. They're not really inquisitive enough.
Yeah.
After 9, they're already in school, in the school system, in my experience. So between
Yeah.
6 and 9, it's, wow, look at this world. What's that? What's that? What's that? Go back. Please tell me. I'm an SOW. I'm an 8. I'm an 8-year-old. Everybody has these 4 ages at the same time. So you want to nurture your 8-year-old and you want to make sure that it stays with you 75, whatever you're chronologically. Okay. So that's one piece of advice. Learn to understand that you are a fluid, flowing, fulsome being. Okay. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
These
Okay.
2 pieces of advice. Now I have to preface and say one of the reasons Shawn wanted me to talk about this because I've been blessed. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 9. And I can tell you great stories about being an entrepreneur at the age of 9 because it helped me learn things that helped me grow numbers of businesses. But suffice it to say, before I became paralyzed, in the 3 years prior to being paralyzed, I had built and sold 2 internet companies to other public companies, had 3
Cool.
3 patents issued to me, made a lot of money, and since I'm a real entrepreneur, I lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Stuff
Haven't we all?
Yeah. Well, you hear what he just said? Haven't we all?
Yeah.
You all understand this because that's the nature of the process and
Yeah.
loving it. Let love embrace change. Okay. 2 pieces of advice that everybody can use immediately and it will make your life better. You'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. I guarantee it, or your money back. Double your money back. First piece of advice. You ready?
I'm ready.
Learn to blab. Blab? What is that? Breathe like a baby. Now, Shawn has 4 kids, so he's seen this. Most people may not remember what it means to breathe like a baby. We all breathe. Barry, of course I'm breathing. What does it mean to breathe like a baby? Most people, I'm talking about 95% of human beings on the planet at any one time, you're breathing up here in your lungs, which is great. That's how you exist. What you really want to learn how to do is to breathe in through your nose, deep into your diaphragm, and then breathe out slowly through your mouth. There's only 2 issues here. One is most people can't spell diaphragm and they don't know where it is. So I call it tummy breathing. Babies breathe in through their nose. They breathe deep into their tummy and then let it out. I have a 94-second video about teaching people how to learn how to breathe like a baby. 94 seconds.
Wow.
And if you do this twice a day, 94 seconds, it will enable you to be calm, aware, and present. And Shawn will tell you, when you are calm, aware, and present, your business improves, your life improves, your relationships improve. Am I right, Shawn?
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't struggle, at least from my perspective, with that?
So blab, breathe
Okay.
like a baby.
Breathe like a baby. And
Okay,
two,
number 2. Okay, everybody, buckle up. Are you buckled up, Shawn?
I'm buckled up in my Sactionals.
Here we go.
Seatbelt on.
Learn to love dog poop. What? What are you talking about, Barry? Remember, we love acronyms. Why do we love acronyms? Because they give us a perspective, as he says. When you learn another language, you get a different perspective. You can think in another way and begin to examine the world. Dog poop is a fabulous acronym that stands for doing of good, power of one person. So I'll give you the fun perf. So imagine
Okay.
now, everybody knows what dog poop is, what it looks like, and it's almost ubiquitous in America and around the world these days, right? So now, Shawn, if you go out and if you walk, I don't know if you have a dog at home or if you know people that have dogs, and you're walking along with the kids and you see somebody picking up dog poop, you start laughing and they say, "Dad, what's that?" And they say, "I love dog poop." I say, "What are you talking about?" Well, my friend Barry was telling us about dog poop, and you know what it stands for? It stands for doing of good, power of one person. Everybody knows the name Mandela, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, John Smith. And people, major people knew and said, well, those are big people. The good Lord made you. You're no different. Every single person on this planet at any one time has the power to make a difference. We call it going mad. MAD stands for make a difference. When you recognize that you have the same ability to make a difference in the world as any one of those famous people,
Yeah.
and you now say, I am doing good, I am thinking in good, and you reach out your hand to somebody walking next to you, you hold that hand, and walking to the left of you, hold that hand. Now you've increased you to 2 others. And 2
Yeah.
becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 16, 32, 64, ad infinitum. There is nothing in the world, Shawn, nothing that can stop the power of positive, purposeful, pleasant energy. It's a tsunami of goodness. So now when you think of dog poop, start laughing and look at it and say, okay, I just shifted my perspective. Remember, keep that F in place. Shift your perspective. And no matter what's going on in your world, you can not only handle it, it's been given to you as a gift. You hear that? Shawn Nelson won $1 million in a contest.
True.
He won. There's a guy named Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson, famous entrepreneur. Everybody in the world's heard of Richard Branson, right? Virgin this, virgin that, and he wasn't. But anyway, big contest. Shawn wins $1 million. And as Shawn told me, a year or so later, he was almost bankrupt. What?
Yeah.
It's called life.
That's right.
It didn't mean that you have to win $1 million and then try and go bankrupt. No. He would rather not have. And yet, because of the experience of learning to love dog poop and the power of one person and using this ability to be calm and aware and loving and caring, well, guess what can happen? That energy shift is going to enable Lovesac to be a, what, $700 million company in terms of sales this year, publicly
Yeah.
traded company. That it's not the numbers and it's not the business. Lovesac does something. It has a purpose. It's called Designed for Life. Hello, it's a whole other way of looking at things. That's called dog poop, Shawn.
Oh, I love it. And thank you, Barry, for you know, understanding so well what drives me and what drives us. I mean, it's the spirit of this podcast. I have no advertisers, just like your book. My book, I donate any proceeds from Let Me Save You 25 Years are donated to the future business leaders of America. Barry's given away his book, his ebook for free. You've got to check out Barry Shore. I want to add to something, that you said, Barry, because I asked you, right, the impetus for all of this, that this last 10 minutes of Barry on the pod was, how do we develop the capacity to do hard things and to enjoy hard things? And Barry gave you two pieces of advice, right? Blab and learn to love dog poop, which is great. I want to give you my personal take on this, which is going to fold in nicely to what Barry said. Either you learn to enjoy hard things or you will not enjoy life, because this life is going to be hard. And if you happen to be coasting for one moment, I can promise you, in the great equalizer that is the universe or God, or however you want to conceptualize it, some sliders go up, some sliders go down. Some are born, in America with freedom and free speech and, into money. Some are born destitute. In the great grand equalizer of life, it will be hard. And if you cannot enjoy hard things, you will not enjoy life. So number one, start with your self-talk, because the whole universe was created audibly before it was created visually, from the outcome of those words, and then for real. And so will be your reality. Number two, modulate your talk to others. Obviously, your children will become what you tell them to become. And so, regardless of how they may be behaving in that moment, tell them what you want them to be. Nice and kind and good students, even if they may not be displaying that in that moment. Find a way to turn that. And number three, do things for others. To coming back to Barry's acronym with dog poop, right? The power of one person. The truth is, I reflected on this. I'm a big reader of books. I've got Steve Jobs' book on my show. Look, Steve Jobs is the ultimate quintessential entrepreneur, idol, billionaire, all the things. Here's the reality. You can donate money and have a building named after you. How many of you have gone to a university where every day of your life you went into some building named after someone, and you can't even remember what it was? Maybe you can. Did you ever even ask who that was? And did you even care? There are lots of great things you can achieve in this world, just like our friend Steve Jobs, as an example. But, when you're lying on your deathbed, like Barry has done, Barry, were you thinking of the greats that came before? Were you thinking of the idols of the world? Who came to your mind in those most meaningful moments? And I'm willing to bet, Barry, it was much more personal than that. Maybe nobody great, in air quotes, at all, but the people that mattered to you. And that will be the case for every human living on the planet. We don't have to reach very far at all to have the greatest impact, both on others and on ourselves.
I agree.
I mean, I find it kind of sad that entrepreneurs are so venerated and people that build big businesses are so, celebrated, and that we end up with the mic. And look, the truth is, by throwing ourselves into that crucible, we learn a lot of lessons fast and hard and deeply. But even if you don't throw yourself into that crucible, you'll be thrown into some crucible, as you've proven, Barry. And if we fail to enjoy it, even as it's happening, we will fail to live our lives, we will fail at the mission of the adventure that is called our life. And I think we will live with a lot of regret. And so,
Let me share with you, Shawn, and everybody listening, one or two more little acronyms that I think people will like.
as
The
Barry does,
acronym for life, because you just mentioned it: living inspirationally for eternity. See, when you recognize that you're here for a limited time, let's be blunt, and yet you're not. Because as we said in the beginning, you're not a body with a soul. You're a soul that has a body.
that's right.
You're here for eternity.
Yeah.
Living inspirationally for eternity, that's life. And the key to living successfully, whether it's building a business, and the only reason a business exists is for this word, service. When you're in
Yeah.
service, there's no limit to what you can do. And I learned that from my father at the age of 9. I know we only have a couple more minutes. I just like to tell the story. May I tell the story? What
Yeah.
happened?
Go ahead.
So I told people I was raised in Boston, Massachusetts, actually a city called Brookline, which is just adjacent in the shadow of Fenway Park, for those who like baseball and such. Okay. And in Boston, Massachusetts, in the wintertime, we have snow and it's cold. And every once in a while, the snow is such that school is called off. Yay! As a 9-year-old, hello. And in those bygone days before something called the internet, that we had a radio, and if it was snow enough, over 6 inches, and call off school, you have to listen, John D. Runkle School closed. Oh, wow, yeah. So you have
No,
several choices. You can go back to sleep because you heard it at 7 o'clock in the morning. Go back to sleep. You can play games, or you can be like me. And I said, oh, Dad, I'm going out and get dressed with long underwear and special kinds of earmuffs and hat and gloves and boots and shovel. And I'm going to go shovel snow because I made 25 cents a week for my allowance and I had to work for it. And I know if I go out shoveling snow, I'm going to do better than that. So I'll just make the story very short. I worked this particular time, it was 9 years old, it was the first snowstorm. And I worked from 7:20 in the morning until about 4:40 in the afternoon. It was already dark when I came home. It didn't stop for lunch at all. I'm a 9-year-old shoveling snow. And I learned a lot of techniques in business and selling, knocking on doors. Suffice it to say, I made $55 that day, Shawn.
wow.
Now this is 66 years ago.
When
$55.
$55 was a lot of money.
That was money, and I made 25 cents a week. But here's the best part. I come home and I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But I made 50. I couldn't even imagine $55 and I made it. I worked really hard. My father was making me a cup of hot chocolate, and he wasn't from powder mixed with milk. He was melting chocolate into a nice container and putting hot water and stirring it. Sat down and he said, "My dear beloved son," he used to like to call me that. "My dear beloved son, how do you spell business?" I'm a smart kid, 9 years old. Business. He said, "That's right. Notice the following: the U comes before the I.
Hmm.
When you are out there helping other people, by definition, the I will always be taken care of. It's a law. You have nothing. You cannot fail when the you comes before the I. And that's what kept me loving business, enjoying business, no matter the hard times. And there were hard times, or the great times, there were great times. It's this wonderful process called service and enjoying the hard things, challenging things, and then getting to meet amazing people like Shawn Nelson. Hello. How cool is this? So I urge everybody, grab the bull by the horns. When you open your eyes in the morning, say, "Yay, I love dog poop," or whatever else you want to say. That your significant other will poke you in the head and say, "What are you talking about?" Actually learn to have fun. I call that the 4-letter FU word. FU, capital N, fun.
I love that. And to that end, look, I think it's easy in this day and age of AI and tech to be convinced that the sexiest kinds of businesses to take it there. are those with, no employees, low overhead, one-man show, two-man show, as tight as we can get it, as profitable as we can make it. And I always love to celebrate that I get to employ 2,000 people so far, that I get to influence and take part in all those customer lives, also their lives. And, the challenge of keeping this business going and making it more profitable and successful is as much as anything about trying to give all of these people a great living, a great experience, a great culture. And I'm not saying I'm some kind of saint. I'm saying that I've found so much more satisfaction in approaching this exercise that way than in trying to become super, super, super rich. Because, by the way, I know lots of super, super, super rich people who are not very happy at all. They have not learned somehow through all of it how to enjoy hard things. I think we have to practice hard things, which is why I do the different, things in my life that I do, why Barry swims 2 miles a day, why I, push myself physically and mentally in other things. And ultimately we can get good at enjoying hard things. And therefore the hard things in life become more enjoyable. And I know that what Barry said is accurate. If we make it about other people, if we make it about others, we will lose ourselves in the work and have lived a great life with tremendous adventure. And so, Barry, thank you so much. Check out Barry Shore. Check out his own podcast,
The
which I've had
joy of living.
the joy of living, which, that will be your legacy, Barry. You've earned it. And it's a fantastic podcast. It's a fantastic podcast to just insert, I guess, a bunch of joy into your own life. This energy that Barry shared with you today is just a sample of what he brings every day. And that's unlike any other podcast out there, even my own. So thank you, Barry, for bringing it and for sharing with us. And there's so many more acronyms and bits of wisdom to glean from you in the future. Get his book, also The Joy of Living, any one of his 4 or 5 books that are out there, and give him a follow, give him a like.
Shawn, can we do 2 things before we bid
Yeah.
adieu? Okay, we'd like to do a hug with all the tens of thousands of people who are listening.
All right.
And we'll give a blessing, okay?
Okay.
So let me tell everybody what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Big old hug.
And a blessing from Barry and Shawn. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you, Barry. Please share this with a friend. Help us get the word out. I hope that if we together learn to enjoy hard things, it just might save us a bit of our own 25-year journey. Thank you.
Once a year to take my friends away should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.
When I won that million, I was $2 million in debt, barely hanging on.